Check.
How are we doing, folks? What a day indeed. A special day, perhaps even a sad day, but we are all here. And it's time to really feel the 360 verse of the Mars Volta in this, hopefully just a closing chapter, not the end. But here we go, folks. It's time. A very, very, very welcome, affirmation. And I believe, based on the success, and I haven't checked the trending or anything, but heartening to me. La Realidad de los Sueños. A beautiful, beautiful compilation box set, career spanning, already sold out within only a mere few hours. I had it in my cart for a while, considered it. I've moved away from vinyl because love and light to those who pursue it and collect it. For me, I simply just directly listen to the music, so anything in the way of that, including the media itself, just on my own path. I've collected vinyls most of my life, most of my adult life. Collected, sold, and I have come out of the other side on the sold side, and the side where, as much as it is so beautiful and that booklet is wonderful, and if there was a shirt option, definitely I've picked up from Gojira, which I also do the podcast for that band, Fortitude, the t-shirt and the poster, so I'll be keeping my eye out for that. But needless to say, it's beautiful, the artifact of it, the symbolism of turning everything on its side in terms of prog, which I feel Mars Volta did. That is that's represented in the orientation of the record itself, the sort of display, So, yeah. What a beautiful, beautiful day. But welcome, everyone. I'm Albert. I'm an Australian artist. I host and produce the Mars Volta Podcast, the Gojira Podcast, and the Sword Podcast, among a few others. I have 3 outlets creatively. The patterns that I do, which you may see here and there, if you look to my outlets, as in my, just Albert Kessa anywhere on the web, CHESSA. Number 1. Number 2 is the Quantum Myth, which is this storytelling which feeds into the patterns. Basically, all of the patterns that I make are extrapolations, and I call them still photographs of eternity in motion, which is a realm of subject matter which is tied into the Mars Volta in terms of how often they are these fusion makers. They make this, the fusing of words, portmanteaus like amputecture and nocturniquet, etc. Which I cherish, because I do believe in the fusing of, because everything's made of atoms anyway, so I love that exploration, which too many people I feel as though are a little bit timid about, and Mars Volta will always be, regardless if they're on the road to a new record, this battering ram that, musically Omar, battering ram, creatively so prolific, obviously, but batting aside any kind of attempt to kind of close him in on anything. It's he's his own self-genre makers, the Mars Volta, certainly. It's interesting that they were drawn to the Volta phrase from the Fellini because they, I don't know, if some weird cosmic prescient thing happening in the unconscious where, unhooked from space-time, they have tapped into what I think Fellini has this beautiful legacy, and like Martin Scorsese just wrote this beautiful essay about his love for Fellini, and I foresee, based on what they have accomplished, continue to accomplish individually as artists, Omar and Cedric, and their cohorts that help make the records. I believe there'll be quite a few, probably outliving me, happening far beyond my time. Analysis of which I hope this podcast can, I humbly submit this in the digisphere of hopefully additive community creations for the Mars Volta. Lovely group of folks who over at the subreddit, which I mod at, are also so, even with any news of an album, especially now after we saw the quote from Omar, that aspect of the end of the story. Again, never say never. It conflicts a little bit with what Cedric was mentioning a few months ago, probably over 12 months ago on Twitter about returning to the Volta. It is the end of a story, a chapter. I think you can tie those records together, but maybe, again, it can be either at the moment, which makes it exciting. And but regardless, even if we did receive like a firm, definite statement from Omar that it's over, it merits the entire discography. First of all, with the people that I'm hoping, will bring on from the community and the band themselves down the line across, the digisphere. Again, Zoom makes this very simple and easy, and I've experienced that with reaching out to the Sword and speaking with those folks. I've spoken with the bass player Brian Ritchie, and guitarist Kyle Shutt, and a number of album artists, including Skinner and Richie Beckett from the Mastodon Sphere. So I think Cedric also follows Mastodon Podcast on Instagram. I believe Brent follows it from Mastodon there. So the sort of Venn diagram of the bands because of that Blood Mountain connection, which is how I first encountered the Mars Volta, was seeing that Cedric was a guest voice, ghost vocals on Blood Mountain. So on brand for Mars Volta with their kind of wonderful multi-directional tangent-taking, eclectic, eccentric, esoteric approach. I've sort of come into this first episode just from every angle, definitely tangent-tastic, but needless to say, I'm happy I was able to. The third, obviously, I didn't even mention my three outlets, is number 1, the patterns, number 2, storytelling, the quantum myth, number 3 is the podcast which you're listening to. And that sort of network which I've done, I have just the Albert Kessler podcast, which I then chop up and then put into dedicated outlets based on what people might only want to hear from me about a certain subject. So I have, for example, about 75 episodes on Kojima, which is it's all segmented out and popped on the Kojima podcast there. So this is a beginning of a multi-year and onwards into however long journey of diving into the band. Speaking with album artists, Jeff Jordan down the line is definitely in the cards. People orbiting the band themselves, poster artists who have interacted with them. A lovely ongoing chronicle of this kindred band, which I saw perform live in 2009, coming off of the Octahedron, or just about to enter the Octahedron years, I believe, possibly. We'll see. It feels as though I was between Bedlam and Octahedron when I saw them, but it was 2010, I think. Yeah, 2010. So that was in Sydney. I saw Mastodon in that same week. So even further eternally uniting those two bands. I'm just spinning Mars Volta all day today, folks. Just got the Maida Vale sessions in the lounge here, 2003. I was going to do a video, but I just decided to bust this one out. Recording to the voice memos, which is how I record a few of my different shows. I'm so pensive on this day and so ecstatic as well. I mean, and I'm going in so many reveries, but to really encapsulate how much the Mars Volta means to me is truly impossible. As this, as a lover of chaotic structure, like if you look at my patterns, it's all based on morphogenesis. I have a piece called Metamorphogenesis, which is, hey, I'm Omio. I'm actually recording a podcast at the moment. That's right. So you are now on the podcast.
Oh,
How are you doing?
excellent. How are you?
Not bad. We're talking about... there's no one like on the camera or anything. It's just me on the voice memo. But the Mars Volta, you know?
Oh, excellent.
Beautiful.
Enjoy.
Okay, have fun. I love you.
I love you.
So, yeah, tangents are great. And that was just one we just went on now. So, but yeah, as I said, chaotic structure. Metamorphogenesis, based on morphogenesis, which is the process by which nature creates all of her patterns. And music, before it is anything, is setting off from the human heartbeat. The pattern that we all live our lives by is the heartbeat. And we're born into the life with music in our hearts. Like, that's one constant drumbeat. So music is literally who we are, that thrum of life, you know. And the reason why I so resonate with Mars Volta is that they are the epitome of uncontainable creativity. And I love spanning across visual contexts, narrative contexts. They are so fucking fearless. At the drive-in was this kind of punk leaning, very sharp, almost blaring, white noisy kind of undefined chaos, but the poetry of the lyrics and the focus, like it's basically you take At the Drive-In, you focus it, you add color, you add whole wads of, intercontextual existence, and that's manifested in their narratives and in the concepts, especially, Bedlam and Goliath. Possibly, if I'm thinking about it, obviously I have this memory of coming across the Mars Volta in two contexts. During the year of 2008, I was just doing the thing, which maybe some of the younger people listening will be like, what, you used to do that? It's like, yeah, we didn't have YouTube, so it wasn't as populated with music back then, and you would just jump on iTunes and just flick between songs and song samples. And the first, I was in hospital recovering from an army accident. No holes or anything, but I was left out on a firing range. I think I've covered it elsewhere, but no high-vis vest, no hearing protection, no bulletproof vest, no radio. Not a very good. It was pretty intense. So September, it's so weird, but it was September 11, 2007. Such a weird coincidence. But shortly after that, convalescing in hospital, came across the Mars Volta, and it was Wax Simulacra, first pure Volta encounter. So that actually precedes the encounter on the record of Blood Mountain, now that I recollect it. So episode 1 was always going to be this. It's just that sort of blah, here we go, the beginning. And right out the gate, so special to me. I don't have the Latino connection that they have. I do have the sort of Mediterranean aspect, the kind of romance language thing from Italy. And so when they're doing El Viaquez, like, we just, the mouth moves in the same way to generate some of those syllables as between Italian and like Spanish. So weird quasi kinship there. But I think, folks, just to kind of explain some of the silences, there's a weird sadness as well. I mean, I'm hoping that it isn't. I have this vision, and if you've seen the concept record I developed called Undine Orgiastic Cantata, which is a hypothetical Mars Volta record, which I submitted to the Reddit about 7-8 months ago, and received a really lovely reception. I'll put the link in the description so you can read up on it. I'm going to repost it as well. I developed some artwork for it, and basically the artwork is from this Australian surrealist, instead of Jeff Jordan, to kind of mix things up. It's James Gleason, and the reason why I chose him, I think subconsciously, I was thinking about this today, is because he had a chunk of a time where he was just making this art, and it was surreal, and it was of a certain color and a certain like defined forms, even if they were super eclectic. And he dove into the subconscious, and lots of what Cedric does is in that realm of psychology and mythology and esoteric occult aspects as well. And then he transitioned, and that's why I think I chose it. He transitioned into this beautifully, like in his latter years, he made his best work, frankly. That's what I'm getting at. If you go James Gleason and go, just go, I suppose maybe his like newest works or something. But this is a sign, actually. If you do just go James Gleason, Australian Surrealist, it'll come up immediately with his latter life work, which went on to define him. And I have in my heart, I want to see those white afros, folks. I want to see those grey afros out there on the stage. I want them to come together and realize that eternity, existence is just waiting for them to stitch their beautiful kind of conceptual, musical, artistic, creative, I was going to say travesties, like in a good way. I was going to say tapestries, but I love the idea of travesties. It's like they're so disruptive and so chaotic, and they can do that well into. That's one thing with music, is you can just go onwards forth, you know. You're seeing it from Iron Maiden and such, and they're still touring strong, and it's so wide open. And I'll just read from you for you. It's a bit late. It's like 10:14, and I'm an old man, so I might go to bed soon. But so I developed the concept, and I think I've submitted it to Cedric, but basically I kind of just said I wrote an entire kind of just to kind of, because it was in the middle of I think I don't know if I just gotten on a Mars Volta kick or something, but yeah, they've been in my heart since 2008. And yeah, about 7 or 8 months ago, I just, for some, whatever reason, maybe existence, like I often am drawn to Mars Volta to just sort of cathart, if that's even a verb, whenever kind of those waves of existence kind of come at you and you just sort of, tune into this. Wow, it really cleans the slate, like especially, if you go to the Deloused in the Comatorium, even that deloused thing, it's like, weirdly it has this thing of like refreshing you, like to delouse yourself, it's, I don't know. So that's very cathartic, listening to that one. And I was walking back to my car in Belconnen, and I think I was at work, and Cedric and Omar and Cedric have created a palette, actually, of a very distinctive palette, which, Pink Floyd did a bit, and you can even say that Porcupine Tree dipped into a bit, and they sort of painted a bit with Pink Floyd's palette, And so for me, just in this sense of, having joined the subreddit and then becoming a mod and then doing the mod banner, and the mod icon, and sort of committing, and I said, look, hey, let's because it didn't have a logo, and it was a bit of a quiet subreddit, and I said, look, Mars Volta is not a quiet band, they're alive. They are multicolored, multi-hued, and I can tell there was this sense of and I often do this, I kind of approach Reddits and I say, hey, let's really, like, we deserve more than just the blank icon, and I has this beautiful effect of, now we have an icon, and I mod over at the Eric Andre subreddit, and it had gotten to like either 300,000 or 30,000, like still a massive number. And it was like, why doesn't this have an icon? And for me, artwork is 50% of the experience. So I sort of gave it an icon and a banner, and I just noticed, like this life kind of rushed into the subreddit. And in line with that, I sort of in my rituals of manifestation, which I think have worked actually, which is if like for Elden Ring, for example, I do Elden Ring podcast, and I'm manifesting for that to be a really formula evolving creative endeavor. And so for that, I manifested, I put that out in the universe, and in my comments and such on podcasts, and I did the same with Mars Volta. And Undine Orgiastic Cantata is, I'll just read it. So, a coven of sapphic water nymphs discover a portal to different dimensions in their otherworldly forest lake. This is the concept of the concept record. 2021 is this hypothetical Mars Volta record that I wrote. So, through an extended melding of souls and bodies gyrating and dancing in the cosmos, the Undine, which is another word for water nymphs, slowly make their way to Earth, discovering its pains and troubles, including cannibalism, which is on the song Acapulco con Carne, Infidelity, Liaisonneur, and Dictatorship, Kidas, which is the name of the dictator in this concept record, but also its joys, Emulatra, and pleasures, Pardalis. The nymphs are torn on whether to return to their untroubled realm or to remain to help change humanity. Ultimately, the group divide into two, the two-part Vestibules and Avena. The nameless counter-nymph mentioned in Hemispherotica returns home with three others, whilst Avena, the other group's leader, joins hands with her two remaining sisters, and the three dissipate into energy, which saturates and imbues the world with their souls, now transformed into new music, art, and poetry, that which makes human existence worthwhile with all of its miseries and majesties. Lyrics mentioned on the song Las Lambastardos. The epilogue, Wolfram Sighs, depicts a mote of the martyr nymph's energy settling on the screen of a smartphone, absent-mindedly flicked away or swiped away by an uncaring, mindlessly scrolling person. So ending on a little bit of bittersweetness there, because they made the sacrifice and it did go into the world's sort of creative ethosphere, but because of this culture, which we just need to balance, we have to learn to live with and navigate. We can't just sort of be curmudgeon-y old men and ignore. We have entered the smartphone age, and there are ways for, and I truly hope that Mars Volta don't see their time as having ended, because if the velocity with which the compilation was sold so quickly, and it's on Rolling Stone forever now on the website, it's has immediately sold out. It's like they announced this record, boom, La Realidad de los Sueños, and so that's beautifully heartening. So so that's number one of this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 6 actually. So 6 records that I've created. Xiphoid, Xiphoid. If you click on that, I never just come up with stuff out of nowhere. I think that randomity, it has to have a thread, and this is what Cedric does. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're on all kinds of drugs when you're writing these things," but all it is that they're just cryptically written. They're not just randomly arranged words. It's just very, very dense poetry. Very, I would say very eclectic and wide-ranging, and people are so quick to append that random label. But look at A$AP Rock, like his stream of consciousness spanning highly interpretable abstract lyrics are all unified. You can follow a thread there. They're not just spouted random words. So Xiphoid Remonstrations, I'll just read the track list. Again, I just have a project going on with this manifestation in mind. So I'll read the track list of Undine. So Oplom is number 1, Emulatra number 2, Acapulco con Carne, Hemispherotica, Liaisonneur, Kidas, Pardalis, Lambastardos. Then there's a 2-part Vestibules, sequence 1, an Oligarch's Countenance, and sequence 2, Spasmoid Inflector, Oligarch Reprise, Avena ad libitum, and Wolfram Sighs. So that's one there, and I'll just read a couple of tracks here from Xiphoid Remonstrations. So Xiphoid just means sword-like, so sword-shaped, and remonstration, if you click on that, it's to make a forcefully reproachful protest. So Xiphoid Remonstration simply means like forcefully sort of represented, maybe like a very strong symbol of sword wielding or sword shapedness, and that can be philosophical or it can be visual or aesthetic. So Genuflector is number 1, 8-minute song. Lectronite, Ye of the Night, Safekeeper, Ozona, Cryptopedes, Shudderesque, Lathe to the Grave, Tractor Back, Hepburn Massif, Head Caverns, Bleak Serifs Part 1, Fleet of Worms, Bleak Serifs Part 2, the Growling Vase, and Luminantinquata. Right, so luminant, as in alive and bright and glowing. Antinquata, which is antiques, so the bright past, looking brightly at the past. So the concept for that one is a nun with a metal jaw contemplates her former life as a sword fighter, culminating in her embarking on an adventure once again. So I live for completely fucking out there, existence-spanning concept records, and I'll be posting these over time. So the third record is Furtive Reliquae en masse. Other one is next one is Ulcerion. So yeah, I love that one. The Grand Duchy of Ulcerion, a metaphysical civilization localized entirely within the ulcer of an unnamed tropical animal, is explored by the nameless, faceless Reggie, who is his sort of culminating song is called Odium Invector, and otherwise known as Regicide. So Regicide also means the slaying of a king, but it's also he at one point commits suicide, I think in a very heroic way. I'll detail that record when I explain that one out there. So the vessel which traps the soul of any listener to the record and forces them on the perilous journey. So I love the never-ending story aspect of like fourth wall breaking, and like the idea that you are, anytime you listen to that particular record, you are Reggie. And it's like, that's what I loved about Bedlam and Goliath, is that it felt like it was a haunted record, and when you listen to it, like it felt a bit wrong, like how it spills from the album into your own life and into your own ears, feeling as though it's like, oh wow, it's alive in some way, and it caused all this misfortune, and there's a power to it, and each of these albums has this glow and this power to it. Lip Queezer is one that I love. Lummoxide. So Lummox is a like a fool, like an idiot, a clumsy, stupid person, and Oxide is like carbon dioxide. So carpalmistry. So I love portmanteaus, and just seeing how much like amniotic is like mixture of amniotic acid and discotheque. That's another album there. Imperiador of the Vastlands is the last one, and Tornadog. So it's like a tornado, but it's like a dog. So Minutia Militia. So basically, to Omar and Cedric is like, you have really, really created something so special that folks like me, with these communities of the Mars Volta, like there's a life to it that will be endlessly revisitable, re-listen toable, because it does harness infinity and eternity in these ways which people often are not courageous enough to do. And there are huge forces at work in the industry side of things to force people to simplify and strip down, and the Mars Volta is at their self-truest when they are completely fucking unleashed. And conceptually, musically, a lot of people love Francis the Mute for that reason. So, but for me, all of them are unto themselves beautiful. I love Moloch Walker, which is what opened this episode. I love Cotopaxi. If we're going to go through each record, I could tell you each of my favorite songs, but they're all so special. And we're going to dive all the way in, folks. Record history, chronological, just going with biographies, that kind of thing. So over the years, folks. So there's no timeline on it, but it's my intention, and that is the plan. So it'll be a wonderful, wonderful time. But in the meantime, look, folks, dive into this special day, knowing that the true, again, it's this beautiful symbolism of the title. It's like La Realidad de los Sueños, so the reality of these sounds, the true reality of what they've always meant to be. Like the band has full authorship of this, so I'm just going to go Cedric Bixler Zavala, Instagram. Just going to read from Cedric's Instagram here. The story of cults. Shout out to this kindred dude. So let's log in. Mars Volta Podcast. Right. So he has made a statement here. I've read a little bit from, or sort of paraphrased a bit from Omar. But here we go. So, heavy day. I just want to thank Raw Power for their guidance and passion. Johan and all the hardworking people at Clouds Hill, Stray, LTD, Soundgarden, Mastering, and Evil Stinevel. Thank you, Danielle Van Ark, for the photos in the booklet. They're heartbreaking and uplifting. Stevie Chick, thank you for listening and putting it into words. So that's presumably part of the that's beautiful. Jean Shearer, there we go. So people in the comments having it, back and forth, beautiful. So ORL Projects, he has simply just said, look, hey everyone, I'm excited to announce that the Clouds Hill tapes part 1, 2, and 3 are officially available in stores today. So that's 23 weeks ago. He hasn't updated his posts. I just started reading that just out of muscle memory, but he has posted to stories, so his posts are still old, but yeah, stories, I believe we do have I remember seeing it actually this morning. I'm not seeing it on his stories now, maybe because it's expired. But so Omar hasn't made a statement of any kind, at least on his Instagram here. But yeah, certainly in the interviews you can see out there. So some of the headlines read that, oh well, you know, there's still some issues and still some kind of bad blood with it's not completely clean slate with this, and I really do hope, gosh. See where my massive fucking respect, that's why I have the Zappa podcast too, is that I have so much fucking respect for these people who are so aware that industries and this heavy bullshit admin stuff gets in the way of just pure creativity, but they fucking do it anyway, and they smash against these constraints, and when they could easily take easier paths. And Tool had some problems too as well, and I also do Tool podcast, you can find that on Instagram too. Over the years we'll be revisiting those and discussing those, and that band also has a kindred energy with Mars Volta in that they are endlessly re-listenable because of just the scope of existence that they cover, and that they Tool in a more, I suppose, in that sort of spiritual sense, and then Mars Volta in this beautifully, so vibrantly verdant and evergreen, abstract, highly interpretable way, you know. And they're always going to be this jam band that you could just put on. So bless the eternity of music, folks, seriously. And long after we have shed our little flesh, you know, shells, we'll be able to listen to that big cosmic thrum that we all were a part of before we took on this kind of human shape, and then we go back to it, and the pulse never ends. And it's just this wonderful thing to see these bands who are, yeah, they've just said, you know what, that's how certain people kind of maybe coast on this conventional, you know, yeah, just, I would say with honestly, I would say with most music that they're just not pushing envelopes, they're not going places. And Mars Volta are a contemporary example of saying, you know what, fuck this is our language. These titles, this beautiful fusion of this music, this prog, and then this wonderful Latino component, which is just lends them this identity all their own. And the imagery of the two, you know, Omar and Cedric with him with his afro, you know, and Cedric with his like half afro weird kind of boof, you know, surrounded by these incredibly talented musicians, you know. So I am heavily manifesting, as I'm hoping everyone else is doing. I hope they are flabbergasted by the reception of the compilation record. I really do. I really, really hope that they take this as the sign that there is, you know, such an abiding love for them. I really do. And whatever's going on with Kanye and his divorce, or whatever's going on there, if there was anything, maybe if that can manifest, I privately, again, to take a mini quasi-relevant tangent, like I hope Kanye, whatever this divorce thingy, like he just becomes this kind of sagely, like knows himself and is just like centered and real, and then like maybe this Mars Volta collaboration ends up being real, and I don't know, that would be wonderful, you know, maybe next year, just to sort of see this happen. And they take this rest of 2021 super like chilled break, and then 2022 they reemerge, you know. We shall see. So all right, folks, that's us. La Realidad de los Sueños. I'm going to say it again because I fucking love that name, and I've said it 4, now it's going to be 5 times. La Realidad de los Sueños. It's real, it's wonderful, and it's here. And blessings and good kinship to all of you, good energy and vibes to all of you from Canberra, Australia. Welcome to this lovely journey, and be well. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you all. So the Mars Volta Podcast at gmail.com for any comments. Best probably just to @ me on Instagram, either as the Mars Volta Podcast or just Albert Kessa. It'll be in the description. So good vibes to you, and see you on the Reddit. The Reddit is a wonderful place, and we're building it up into something special. And TMV eternally, you know. TMV for eternity, as I say. So yes. TMV eterna. Good times. All right. Be well, everyone, and until next time, bye for now.